What's going on, y'all? It's Tyler. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for checking out this video of mine. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 things that I don't like about the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, specifically from the perspective of shooting corporate events, weddings, speeches, and even YouTube content like this. And yes, I'm fully aware that it's called the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, but if you look at Blackmagic Design's marketing material and their keynotes and stuff like that, they obviously were intending for this to be not just used for cinema, but used for documentaries and travel blogs and web videos and corporate videos and stuff like that. So with all that out of the way, the first thing I want to talk about that I don't like about this camera is the battery life. Now, I kind of understand why Blackmagic went with the LPE6 type battery. They are super affordable. You can find them anywhere. And a lot of times, most people just have them laying around for other accessories like this monitor right here takes LPE6 batteries, for example. Now, the benefit is they aren't very big, so you can stuff a ton of batteries in your pocket, but it is kind of annoying having to switch out every 30 to 40 minutes to put a new battery in. Now, you can obviously solve that by adding an external battery, but I don't like the extra bulk of those. I like to keep this rig as compact as possible. But another way Blackmagic Design could solve this is creating a battery pack like I have on the Canon 60D. We're all familiar with these. They have a little tray. You can put 2 batteries in. And so by adding a battery grip, it'd be more form-fitting to the camera, obviously. Wouldn't be something else that's hanging off the camera, and you double the battery life of the camera, which for me, if I got an hour to an hour and a half out of this camera, I'd be a very happy camper. So the second thing I don't like about this camera is the screen. Now, the screen itself is a really good screen, 5-inch touchscreen, full HD screen, but the fact that it doesn't articulate in any way means you have to get an external monitor if you're not shooting just right behind the camera. Plenty of professional cinema cameras have articulating screens like the Canon C200 or even Blackmagic's own Ursa Mini Pro. Okay, the third thing about this camera that really annoys me, this might be my biggest pet peeve with the camera, is the port covers on the side of the camera. Even without a cage, they're kind of a pain because they don't fold over one way and stay there. They just kind of dangle, and when you have multiple things plugged into the camera, they just kind of get in the way. And when you put on a cage, which is honestly pretty necessary for this camera, it's even worse. It's super hard to get the port covers open, and if you're trying to unplug or plug things in, it's just super cumbersome. I wish they'd have done something similar like they have on the other side of the camera for the CFast and SD card slot. Something like a door, even if it was one door to open them all. I don't know what the right solution is, but there's got to be a better way than these little rubber port covers that are on there right now. And I've not been brave enough to actually take them off because I do feel like they do provide benefit when there's nothing plugged into there, keeping dust and stuff like that out. But I do wish there was a better design to these port covers. Okay, the fourth thing about this camera that I don't like, and it's actually a pretty big deal, are the audio preamps. They are not great in this camera. Doesn't matter if you use an XLR or the 3.5mm input, they just are not great audio preamps. So when you're using the 3.5mm input jack, the preamps are extremely weak. So using mics like the Rode Video Micro or something like that, you have to bring the audio preamps all the way up to 100% to get a decent signal, and that just introduces a ton of hiss and noise and really just becomes unusable. So you have to use a more expensive mic like the Shure VP83 or the VideoMic Pro or something like that that can boost out like a 20 dB gain boost or something like that, so that you don't have to bring up the input levels super high on the actual camera. Now, the mini XLR port is definitely better and cleaner, but I still have to bring it up to about 75% when I'm using something like the MKE 600 by Sennheiser to get usable audio levels. And even then, the audio quality isn't as good as something from like the Zoom H5. So if I'm just using this camera, I'm gonna use a Zoom H5 or something like that to get better audio and just run the line out into the 3.5mm jack, and that seems to work much better. So the fifth thing about this camera I don't like is it's just buggy, and pretty much all this stuff should be able to be fixed through a firmware update. So for example, there's one thing that's weird with playback. If you record something using one lens and then you swap to another lens and you want to play back all of those clips, for some reason I can only play back the clips that I use for the lens that I have attached to the camera. If I take the lens off, I can play back all the clips, which is really kind of strange. I don't understand why it's like that. So hopefully that'll be fixed in a firmware update. Another example is providing phantom power through the mini XLR port. For some reason, when I turn phantom power on, it simply just doesn't send phantom power to the mic. I've tested different cables, different mics, which makes me believe it's a problem with the camera, not with my microphones or cables. Another little quirk that I found is plugging in the camera while it's turned on. There's been a few instances where I've had the camera on, not recording, but I'll plug the camera in to an outlet and the camera just shuts off. I can't figure out why it does it, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened 2 or 3 times to where I'm definitely not comfortable having the camera on, recording something, and just plugging it in mid-recording, because I just don't want to have to lose that shot, especially if I'm shooting in ProRes, where I might lose the entire clip. And another weird bug that I know Blackmagic Design is very aware of has to do with the Samsung T5 drive. sometimes when you turn the camera on and it's plugged in, it's not recognizing the drive, and you kind of have to turn the camera on, turn it off, unplug the drive, plug it back in, do jumping jacks, spin around 3 times, and maybe it'll work if you're lucky. And like I said, I think most of the stuff can be fixed with a firmware update, but they are kind of annoying little quirks, and it kind of makes you wonder like how much regression testing and stuff that they're actually doing on these firmware updates before they actually release them to the public. I know they have beta ones, but I feel like all these things could have been kind of vetted out before they actually release the camera. So all that being said, none of these issues are enough for me to want to sell the camera or get rid of the camera or not bring it on to every shoot, because the benefits of this camera, like image quality and frame rates and stuff, definitely outweigh the few issues that I do have with the camera. Well, thanks for checking out this video of mine. I really appreciate you sticking around to the very end. If you like this video, if you found it helpful or informative, definitely give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And leave a comment below. I'd love to hear about your experiences with the Pocket camera, if you have had the similar experiences or if you have other issues that you have with the camera that I didn't mention. Once again, thanks for watching this video, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.